So we are approaching the end of the conference. I'm impressed that you not only just came, but you stayed until the last minute. So to honor your commitment, we thought it was good to conclude with some flavor about the next steps of the future kick call, because probably you would like to know what is in the pipeline. So this is going to be what would take hopefully 5 minutes or so before formally Patrick closes the conference. You have seen this slide before when I presented the role of the EIT as an institute for Europe. It has to do obviously also with the core business, the current KICs and the future KICs, which I again would present to you briefly for what concerns the next steps. So this is the indicative roadmap. You have to know that the board, of course, of the EIT has taken this very seriously, and there is a working group also established for this. A number of members have been very kindly attending this conference. I'm very grateful in particular to Patrick, but also Peter Olesen, Maria Makarov, and Nigel Thrift, who was also yesterday here, are participating. And again, this is a collective effort, and it also speaks for itself regarding the commitment of the board, and we of course count there on the Commission services support and the headquarters. Here you have what is the timeline established, starting with seminars for the future KIC themes, when this would be decided. And here I want to be prudent. But anything that you could do to help us have these themes decided, I think, as informed citizens, would help us. Because, of course, if we would get this decision by Parliament and Council very late in the year, it would be a bit more tricky. How can we get these workshops organized? The plan was to have this around the mid of the year, but as there is still some excitement about this, again, in Brussels, it may take some time. But we are ready, and we would like to have this to help matchmake interests by organizing seminars on each of the themes decided. So that should be the next step. And then by the end of the year, you should see the final product concerning the criteria and the guidance document. Then we would be ready to launch the call next year. And then, as it is customary, once this is out, to have an info session that would look more into the practicalities. If there is anything to be clarified with proponents, either logistically, etc., we should make ourselves available, and so that is also in our plan. Then, of course, the submission should take place, for which we would give 6 months. So more time than it was the case the previous call, and then the evaluation would start, ending up with the designation of the new call KICs designated by the board in the end of next year. So you would see in these final slides some important issues. Of course, we have to make public also the financial rules of the EIT, otherwise we cannot publish the call. The criteria and the procedures for the financing, monitoring and evaluation of the KICs would be part of the framework of guidance, and also the selection criteria again would be spelled out and made public once everything is decided, because we cannot make this unfortunately public before. So nothing is decided until everything is decided. So we have to follow that principle, and this can only be done when we have political clearance. But we can share with you some principles about the selection process as it is envisaged. First, one single call, and this is good news. There would not be a programming or a bricolage, just one simple KIC call with the KICs as decided again by Parliament and Council, same eligibility and selection criteria for all the themes. So that's good news. Also good news is the simplified selection criteria. Again, lessons have been learned. The first call was maybe a bit offer some room for improvement, so we have got that message on board. And then the set of criteria would be much simpler and easy to interpret. Overarching principles are excellence and relevance. So that, I think, speaks also for itself, because it's a part of our mission. Then one proposal for each of the KICs themes would be decided, and again you would have 6 months to prepare your proposals. You have here in this slide what we are doing in terms of analyzing the landscape of criteria Again, the only way to make progress is to make hypotheses at this stage. But the message here is that, of course, we are taking this piece of work very seriously, mapping out the different components in guiding the board in taking its final view. First, the lessons learned for the first call, around which there were issues about the criteria being simplified, the time frame being expanded, organize the evaluation process even better. Second building block is, of course, the legal basis, the regulation, the strategic innovation agenda, which talks about excellence, relevance, again, impact, viability of the strategy, things that have been presented yesterday extensively. And last but not least, of course, the future house of the EIT, the Horizon 2020, which also contains some guiding principles about excellence, again, impact, quality of implementation. So, in other words, we are mapping all these criteria, but indeed you should see the final product by the end of the year. This is work in progress. I'd like to conclude by inviting you, because there should be life again after this conference. What we intend to do is to have a conference which is more looking to the institutional dimension of our mission, and then a second conference in the year which typically looks more to the practitioners, to the case studies, to the storytelling, testimonials. So this is precisely what we plan to do this time in Budapest on the 11th and 12th of November. And again, the good news is that it would coincide with some other events. We will pack this time not only students that were the target a couple of years ago in Krakow, but also students as entrepreneurs, because now going through the cycle of support of the KICs, we should see more of entrepreneurial components coming out of these educational first components we exposed again a couple of years ago. And then also interesting for you is that there are some institutions, some from the other side of the Atlantic, that would join us that same week. So the message is, please come to Budapest, because I think you will not be disappointed. A lot of things in addition to our conference would take place. And again, the motto is innovation power to people. So that, again, we should occupy this space. And it's not only institutions delivering, but it's actually people wanting to make the difference and living the mission of the EIT, because that is what would make the difference. I'd like Patrick to conclude, and this should be my final words, with a sincere word of appreciation for the hosts here. I remember in the 3rd of May last year, we had in fact the first EIT Awareness Day in Europe. And the idea was to bring EIT to a first national capital. But I'm very grateful really to you and all the local hosts, because this time I think you have done very much the other way around. I think you have taken EIT to the Europe map. So thanks about that, because I think it has really been a pleasure. And maybe before concluding, I would ask you to give an applause here. I should also say some words about the board members, Jana Kolar also, and some others I could maybe forget. Xavier has been also very kind to share the 2 days with us. I have to say very sincerely, it's always a pleasure, because, you know, this inspiration is, you know, it's also keep us energized. And I think you are both showing, and Xavier yourself, it is possible to do something else than business as usual. So thank you for your trust, and also for accompanying us in this journey. And then, of course, last but not least, my own staff, starting with the people that make this possible. Team that has been very prudent and very shy, but was very energetic, and took a lot of initiative, and also Agnes and Sabina, just to mention few. A lot of staff have been in the conference, so I'm very grateful also to them. Thank you very much again for joining, and of course the final work is up to you, Patrick, to formally close this.
Well, dear colleagues, it's now time to close our conference. And I wish to thank you for coming to Dublin and to Trinity College for this conference and symposium. I hope you've had an interesting time. I hope you found the symposium informative. And more than that, that you've enjoyed the events that we've put on for you last night in the old library and the dinner in the dining hall. I'm not going to attempt in any way to summarize the conference, except to say that I think the themes that arose are very important and strong ones, that innovation can transform all of Europe. You know, there are difficult times in Europe. We in Ireland are living with austerity. Many other countries in Europe are living with it as well. There's mass unemployment, frighteningly high levels of unemployment in many European countries. It's very important that we have real measures to address this, measures that offer hope, particularly for young people, that they can take control of their lives and their careers and build a future for themselves. So someone said that the EIT was about transforming all of Europe. Well, it's an ambitious aim, but we certainly must try. It was also said how important it is about the development of people, and I think that's absolutely true as well, and that's the primary purpose of education, is to develop people. Another thing that Jana said, and I think it's exactly right, innovation has a local component. We live very much in a globalized world. This trips off everybody's tongue, but it's very important to value also the local, and that the KICs, as they evolve, recognize that, and also that innovation in itself benefits from diversity and bringing diverse teams of people together. The knowledge triangle, of course, formalizes that in terms of research, academia and business. But there are different kinds of mindsets that people have, maybe very different. Even people working close by each other may be very different. Bringing all those together into a partnership in the way that the KICs do is one of the magical elements of the EIT. So I think the EIT is going from strength to strength. It will, I said in my initial few words that I quoted William Butler Yeats, that education is not the filling of a bucket, but it is the lighting of a fire. And I like to think that the EIT will continue to add fuel to that fire of entrepreneurship in Europe. Thank you very much. Do you have any further announcements?